welcome to the Ujazdowski Castle Centre for Contemporary Art. It's a great joy to see so many of you here for our discussion on AI, the death of the artist. Big question mark. It's a hot topic, and every day, every time I tune into a social media platform or on the news or even the mainstream news, I'm reading something about artificial intelligence. It's going to affect all of us, whether we work in the arts or creative sector or whether we work in other professions, and even within our own private lives. You can have an AI psychologist now as an app. You can have an AI girlfriend as a girlfriend. Your perfect partner who will never complain. So we are reaching these kind of areas within medical science, within creativity, within the arts. The kind of it's like the Wild West frontier at the moment, from my personal opinion, and so many developers are in there to make the money, but also to look at creative ways of working with it, but also probably more sinister aspects of artificial intelligence. And we'll be hearing more about a lot of these territories, but particularly as it affects the arts and creative sector. As I speak, there's a strike in Hollywood by the the Writers Guild of America, which has been a very big writers' union in the USA. 20,000 members, probably more now, on strike, and this is the second month of their strike where they are resisting artificial intelligence, saying that it's a plagiaristic machine, that it will possibly take over their roles as writers for screen, cinema, and television. So that is having a direct effect on the movie industry and television industry, and people who are working in visual effects are being affected. No productions are going through right now. So that's one very real aspect in the arts and creative sector. Anyway, I'm not going to take over too much. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this. Science fiction now really does meet reality, and Stanislaw Lem is certainly, I think, an interesting Polish novelist who is worth referencing about this phenomenon. So I'm going to introduce my speakers. I'm delighted that we have two wonderful guest speakers, and my colleague Agnieszka Koleg, who's the co-curator of these discussions, Culture Tensions, and she's going to be speaking after me. So I'll introduce Agnieszka first. So Agnieszka is a co-founder of a very groundbreaking curatorial platform called Passion for Freedom. It promotes free speech, freedom of expression in the arts, and particularly to women who may not have access to being able to make art freely and openly in certain countries like the Middle East and Afghanistan and Iran, for example. She is also one of the deputy directors at the Castle, and is also an artist and a writer and curator. She is very passionate about these public discussions, and in Copenhagen in 2015, she was taking part in a public discussion on art and blasphemy and freedom of expression when it was attacked by terrorists in Copenhagen. And Agnieszka bravely, didn't succumb to these attacks, physical attacks, and actually insisted that we need to continue the discussion because these extremists are trying to silence us. And then I will move on to our speaker who's going to be online, Tracy Fellows. Tracy is in the UK, I think in Staffordshire, I'm not sure. But Tracy is one of Forbes' top 50 female futurists. And she's commented on the future of technology, society, and digital identity for a range of mainstream media, such as the Financial Times and the BBC. She is author of a book called The Future of You, which came out in 2021. And she also hosts a podcast of the same name, and it's been described as Apple's best news show in technology. She's also a visiting professor of digital futures and identity at Staffordshire University. Do follow Tracy. Do follow Tracy. Follows. She has a website called FutureMade, and she works globally with global businesses, identifying new trends, developing foresight, and fully preparing for what comes next. So she's a really important speaker to have on this discussion. She's given keynote speeches at the United Nations headquarters, the Financial Times Global Boardroom, Noble Visions, and Think with Google, and as well as the US State Department. Then our second guest speaker, a bit more local, our wonderful Polish friend here, Maciej Sedlicki. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Forgive me if I haven't. Please do correct me if I mispronounce your surname. So Maciej is a photographer. He's based in central Poland. He graduated with a degree in graphic design from the University of Łódź and has been working in photography and graphic design for more than 12 years. He's a professional wedding photographer, so anyone getting hitched, you know who to call, and has received lots of recognition and numerous international awards from Looks Like Film, the Prawed Awards, the Mayed Awards. And over the past year, he's been exploring and using artificial intelligence in his artwork, in his graphic design, as well as poster designs and in painting. Maciej says that with my work, I want to address important social issues such as aging, relationships between people, love, tolerance, openness to the world. He draws inspiration from the people he meets and the worlds around him. For several months, he's been building a new brand, which is Sztuka. Can you?
Sztuka nowoczesna.
Sztuka.
Nowoczesna.
Thank you. And Maciej is looking at this platform to sell his AI-based work, but also to serve as a platform to bring other artists together working in this field. So, thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. We're going to...
Can I just make a small remark? We have so many guests in the audience, and I would invite everyone to come forward, and I would like to ask, can we bring more chairs to the front so everyone has got a chance to sit down, because otherwise the back will just be crowded and it's not comfortable to stay like that for an hour and a half.
We have
Please.
two more chairs at the front and some around there, yeah. So maybe if we can ask people to squeeze in.
Please come forward.
Don't
Don't stay at the back.
Title then, AI, the death of the artist, ? Or as I'm calling it, video killed the radio star, except it didn't. Please subscribe to my podcast, leave a 5-star rating and hit the notification bell. This might make sense later, but really what I'm saying is that media is made extinct. In fact, we find that, radio is not made extinct by video. In fact, it just turned into something else. It turned into podcasting. So that's something to bear in mind as I talk through this. I don't have all the answers to this question. I think I should just start by saying that. But what I do have is plenty of questions and probing and provocations around this. And so I wanted to touch on 3 topics that I think are relevant to the question, which is authenticity, possibility, and obsolescence. So if I can take those one by one. Can somebody just let me know if you can still hear me? Yeah. Okay. Okay, because I can't see any of you at the minute. Okay, so the first point on authenticity, which I think is key to this. So when Manik and Agnieszka had a chat with me and we first discussed the possibility of this event, I had a copy of Walter Benjamin's book here. I don't know how many of you have read it, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction. And it was on my desk and I asked them if they read it, and it was a good moment of synchronicity because whilst this book was published in 1936, it poses questions of authenticity and authorship around the time of the emergence of photography. I'm sure Matthias would have something to say about this. There are many parallels with AI today. When Benjamin was writing this book, well, we still seem to be quite pained by the idea of duplication and reproduction. So Benjamin was writing at the time about the shift from production to reproduction, or what we might call today copying. And that is indeed one of the criticisms, I think, of AI and AI art for creativity today, that by its nature of being digital, it is reproduced. The output is copyable and the input is copying. We've seen that a lot with sort of ChatGPT, with people saying, you know, well, where are you getting the training data? You're just copying what other people are saying and feeding that into the system. So as the argument goes, because it's copying and copyable, it means it's not authentic. Therefore, if it's not authentic, how can it be valuable? So what we're really finding out is that authenticity, with this criticism, it's authenticity that is the thing that we value in this model. And if something is not deemed authentic, say it's uniform, it's homogenous, or frankly, people think it's cliche then, and they think there's no value in that. So just to reprise Walter Benjamin's theory then, mechanical production of art switches art from something that was authentic to something that's technical. And something technical sits outside of authenticity. So his theory is that we end up with copies, but no original. And I think his theory is reflected in the media of his time. He was critiquing the shift from fine art to photographic art, which he would call mechanical. But the same debate's going on now today around AI and AI art. And it reflects, once again, this tension between art for the elites, where there's an original and it's authentic, and art for the masses, where there's reproduction. How dare ordinary people think they can use AI to create their own artistic endeavours? What will become of art if they are permitted to do so? So that's the critique. But the question you're asking today is what will become of the artist? If there's nothing original about the art that is created with AI, surely we can say then that AI or AI art is not art at all. So those that are working in it should not be considered artists. And this is around this theory that authenticity is dead, long live reproduction. This is the criticism, I think, around AI art. But I think this is to completely miss the point. It's not the artist that's dead, it's authenticity that's dead. And let me just explain what I mean by that, because I've written before in my own book and in papers, like I wrote a big paper in the Journal of Future Studies, a paper which was called Disrupting Identity, where I explained that this ongoing digitization of the self, so the digitization of me and you and identity and selfhood, is transforming our identity, and it isn't dependent upon authenticity. So where we once talked about authenticity to do with identity, we now talk of profiles. And this is a really important point. It's not because we love posting our likes and our preferences and our pronouns to ensure that we're identified in the way we want to be identified. It's actually because we are no longer in physical proximity, and we now have to rely on an intermediate environment an intermediate technology to represent us or represent us. And so today we're relying on technology to profile us, to represent us, and we no longer represent ourselves. Don't know if you're familiar with the work of Hans-Georg Müller. He's a professor of philosophy in Macau, and he wrote a book called You and Your Profile. It's a brilliant book. Please do seek it out. But just to quote him, I think he explains what profilicity is really about. He says, just as sincerity lost its grip on society and individuals with the shift from modernity, authenticity is now fading away along with more recent changes. Authenticity relies very heavily on personal interaction between people. Authentic individuals mutually confirm their identity value, and to do this, they must know one another and be in the same time, in the same place. But in the virtual world we inhabit today, such real-life interaction has become less and less important. So this is my point. I think the age of authenticity is dead, and we're entering the age of profilicity, where we build numerous profiles of ourselves. We're looking to be creative in that way. We're not so interested in being consistent about one original, authentic self. So this is because we've been transformed into data. To be more specific, we are now living as data profiles. We might want to represent ourselves in one way, but that will be either augmented or it will be limited by whatever the machine can read about us. And that's what goes out into the world. To some extent, we don't have full control over that. Furthermore, our identity is now platform dependent, and we surely must acknowledge that our profiles on each of the social networks are slightly different. On Facebook, we're more sociable. On Instagram, we like to present ourselves as more creative. On Tinder, well, we're more dateable. We are but now digital layers and layers of digital information in these new spaces. This is an artistic portrayal of a pixelated image. It's depicting the imprecise nature of a digital image that's resolution dependent, because the display depends on being in the appropriate media. In this case, it's displayed incorrectly because it's in the inappropriate media. This just goes to show how we show up in different ways through different media and on different platforms. And this challenges us to rethink what might have been taken to be a truth in the past, in the old world, that we do not and we should not try to represent the same version of ourselves to everyone we meet. In fact, in contradiction to authenticity and with the new profilicity, representation should be context dependent. And I actually suggested in the Future of You that it's time to start thinking about our own identity as more like code, and in particular, specifically, polymorphic code. Now, lots of you might know that polymorphic code is code that mutates and changes whilst keeping its original algorithm intact. So to give you an example, the same sum can be expressed 1 plus 3 equals 4, but 6 minus 2 also equals 4. These are just different ways, different remixes to get to the same end result. So in the same way, our identity would function like this. I could use different data in different contexts to project different versions of myself, but will always achieve the same end result, whichever way I go. And the same end result is me. I was talking to a young cultural researcher in China who runs a trend consultancy called Youthology. And he said to me, to quote, "I have many, many different selves, and they're all me, but they're all different for all different usages, different contexts, different social circles." He was, in fact, describing what I mean and what Hans-Georg Müller means by profilicity. And Hans-Georg Müller has a great explanation about this and echoes that exact sentiment of that young Chinese youth researcher. And he said in an interview recently that in Profilicity, we can recover the actual art of existence that we have. We're equally the father as we are the kid. They don't cancel one another out. They actually enhance each other. And I think this is Profilicity and living, and being truly invested in different profiles. We can actually go back to some form of richer existence. It's about building relationships with people. So let's say that when authenticity was the standard by which we judged art and artists, that time has now passed and that's dead. And Walter Benjamin was right about this. In the new era of Profilicity, the artist is like a work of art themselves. They're no longer known through a physical, in-person artwork necessarily, but through mediated representations of their work. That is how we shall know them. And therefore, the artist is not something or someone who can transcend digital media. They are, by their very nature, created, curated, and communicated and represented themselves by digital media. So these are their representations of themselves and their work. So if we're not going to judge art and the artist by authenticity, what should we judge them by? And this is where I would say we should judge them on possibility. Is something a piece of art only if it extends out and reaches into possibility? By possibility, I really mean reperceiving. So reperceiving the reality that is in front of you. So I think personally, when they're at their best, artists are able to see. They're able to see something that the rest of us can't see. And when they reveal this new perspective, it's a new reality for everyone else to see. It really is like a revelation. Now, Marshall McLuhan knew and understood this. I'm sure lots of you are familiar with his work. And this is why he talked about artists being at the frontier of perception. He recognized that artists see things before others see them. And he was very fond of quoting Ezra Pound when Ezra Pound said that the artist is the antennae of the race. McLuhan's work is really seminal in understanding what is happening with AI today as both a media and a technology. And I think McLuhan would say, if he were here, that AI as a medium is not just, or not really a tool, it's a transformation. So it's not a tool, it's a transformation. It's not that AI is a media that creates content. It's actually a media that conditions humans. The medium is the message. And people may say that media is a tool. It's a tool for shaping the self. It's an identity tool, if you like, if we're going to talk about identity. And of course, there is the famous quote, we shape our tools and then our tools shape us, which in fact, Marshall McLuhan never said. That was someone else summing up his work. But AI, like any other media, is an environment. And so it is an environment that shapes us. And as McLuhan did say, environments shape their occupants. So what does that environment, the AI environment, mean for the shaping of the artist? What does AI as an environment do to the identity of the artist? You ask whether the artist is dead. It's not that they are dead, but something has transformed about the artist. And I think it's bringing back the idea that the artist is not just a content creator. In fact, not a content creator at all, but a world explorer, a reperceiver, an explorer of worlds, a traveller to new realms before anybody else. Look at it this way, perhaps. Both artists and AI are employed in the search industry. They're both searching on behalf of humanity, but it's a very different type of search they're engaged in. AI is searching for things that have already happened, things we already know, things that have already been said. It's really about what's happened in the past. whereas the artist is searching for new things that have not yet happened, that could never happen, or for things that have not yet been said, or perhaps even things that we think should never be said or could never be said. When they discover or uncover these things, the artist is showing us something we thought was impossible is possible. And that is the transformation, I think, that happens. Now, they're only able to do this when an artist can look beyond themselves. So whereas AI it can't look beyond itself, it can only look to itself, because AI is the summation of code which says, if this, then that. But for the artist is more interested in, if this, then what? What if? If only? Now, those are questions really that AI can't answer, not really. So I think the real question is, can these different types of search coexist? Can we use AI, which is searching for information based on the past, in collaboration with the artist's search for perception or a reperception of our world around us? Imagine, for instance, that we use AI personal assistants in the future. And this could help to create not only our art, but ourselves that are creating the art. So imagine we have more than one personal agent and we're co-creating and co-piloting towards an artistic expression. This would take us beyond ourselves. It would take AI beyond itself and into reperceiving reality. Now, many people think this is what will happen. I'm just going to move past that, sorry. Many people think this is what will happen. And Eric Schmidt has said, so the ex-CEO of Google, and I think he was the chairman of Alphabet, wasn't he? He said that AI assistants would give us a new perspective on our lives, that we would be integrating an AI agent's perspective into our own views of the world, and that would change our outlook on the world. It would give us a richer, more complex version of reality that we wouldn't have been able to tap into if we were just relying on our own senses. Actually, AI personal agents are going to be able to tap into different perspectives and integrate those with our own. And so personal agents will look and sound very much like ourselves if that's the way we want to design them. But I think to unpick this and to come to a conclusion, really want to have a think about a third element here, which is not just about the word artist and what we mean by the word artist, but actually what we mean by the word death, which brings me on to the final point about obsolescence. We might well regard some of the AI art that we are using today as naive or unoriginal or derivative. I mean, I don't, but that's been some of the criticism. I would say some of it is actually really striking and really fantastical. We might say that it's in its sort of hyper-Gothic phase, if you like. But I think the point is that we're at the very beginning of this. We're at the very, very low slopes of this amazing journey. Things will evolve. It's like we've discovered fire. It's a new tool, but we're only really using it at the moment to cook meat. It hasn't really entered our brain yet that we could be using fire for soldering metals to make luxury jewelry. That hasn't occurred to us yet. We're not there. And this is the analogy. Over time, AI as a creative energy source is really going to evolve into many, many new and different ways. And many of them we can't really even foresee now. I was listening to an AI artist the other day who was saying that he thinks the artist will break the constraints and someone, maybe soon, maybe not soon, will find their voice with AI. And what he was really meaning was that somebody will find a way to bring real amazing meaning, bring a new idea, a new thought, I would say a new perspective to the rest of us by using AI in their art. And I think at that moment, we will call that person an artist. So in contrary to the expectation of the artist's death, I would say that this is the birth of the artist. This again is a point that's well made by Marshall McLuhan. You might be familiar with his tetrad. This was the framework for analysing the effect of media and technology. As you know, it has 4 quadrants, one for each effect. What does the medium enhance? What does the medium retrieve from the past? What does the medium reverse or flip when pushed to extremes? And lastly, of course, what does the medium make obsolescent or obsolete? Well, McLuhan, the obsolescence is a very large and mysterious subject which has had very little attention in relation to its importance. And actually, we need to have more awareness of this, because obsolescence is what sparks creativity and invents a new order. The question here today suggests that AI as a new technology might render art, and therefore the art, obsolete, dead. But as McLuhan would likely say, all it will do is reshape and reform the artist rather than replace them. AI should be seen as a transformative force that influences artistic practice, that shifts the boundaries of creativity and prompts artists to explore new modes of expression and to really reach beyond what we already know, beyond ourselves. So I would argue that AI has obsolesced the lone creative genius. That's the thing that's dead, the lone creative genius, because now artists can work with and co-pilot with some of these AI tools. We're now digital beings, we're connected and interconnected. We have multiple identities, we've got avatars and digital twins. We are distributed, copied, pasted, pixelated, shared across a vast digital network. The artist is no longer the isolated genius, but a connected creator. The artist is a network. And that is what I think will emerge at some stage on this AI evolution, the area of art. So just to close up now, contrary to the notion that the artist will be subsumed or made obsolete by AI technology, I think in the end, the artist will be transformed by it. I spoke to some creators who are using AI today and asked them what their views were on all this. And they said various things, including, I see it as another tool of the trade. AI is not the idea, it's working with a medium. You'll still always execute the best ideas. That will be the province of the artist. And somebody said to me, try it, expand it, explore it, blend it with other art forms, but don't simply disregard it. And one person I spoke to talked to me about his wife and how she'd trained as a surface pattern designer. Her first reaction to AI and AI art was, well, that's the end of the pattern industry. A pattern designer would spend days producing this. It would take minutes for AI to do it. And as he said to me, William Morris must be spinning in his grave. And this is the point I'd like to leave you with. Design might be about patterns, but art is not about pattern making. Art is about pattern breaking. Someone will come along and break pattern that exists at the moment with AI creations, and that will be the birth of the artist in the age of AI. Authenticity is dead, but the artist is not. The artist is maybe hibernating, or maybe a better analogy is to say the artist is gestating. They are searching embryonically for a way to use AI to break the pattern of AI. And until that time, we will continue to judge, wrongly in my view, this media in the rearview mirror by applying the old standard of authenticity to the new media of AI, data and digital. I argue that we should now judge art by a different standard, and that standard is possibility, not authenticity. So, as I say, it's not the death of the artist, it's the birth of the artist. And in fact, we can arrive at no other conclusion, really. For if we're to be really, really candid about it, there are no endings. If you think that, you are deceived as to their nature. There are all beginnings, and here is one. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank Agnieszka and Manek for inviting me. I would be able to tell you my opinion. Many people ask themselves whether artificial intelligence is and can be a threat to artists. Of course, this question is controversial and provokes deeper reflection. We are witnessing development of new technologies with their ability to create, analyze, and interpret data, which presents us with new challenges. With the progress and development of artificial intelligence, many people are wondering whether computing power can replace our human creativity, our emotions, and artistic intuition. Today, I would like to take up this discussion to explore various aspects of this issue. So let's look for answers to how artificial intelligence affects our perception and creation of art. Can it be a tool that expands our artistic possibilities, or does it pose a real threat to our existence as artists? Let's take a closer look at the impact of AI on various fields of art and consider the role of artists in the age of technological innovation. First of all, we need to define who an artist is. The definition of an artist can be flexible and subjective. When I refer to artists, I mean creative individuals who engage in a variety of arts. Artists include painters, sculptors, writers, poets, musicians, dancers, graphic designers, photographers, movie directors, and other extraordinary talents. The artist does not only create works of art, they look for new ideas, they experiment, express their emotions and beliefs, and they try to reach the viewers, evoking feelings and reflections. Each artist has his or her own idea and approach to creativity. Artificial intelligence can be a tool that enables, opens new perspectives and possibilities, but also raises many controversies. The introduction of AI into the field of art raises a number of issues related to ethics and responsibility. When creating and using AI in art, we need to reflect on the consequences that may arise from our activities. The first aspect is the ease and availability of AI tools, which can lead to massification in art creation. Generating artworks becomes a more accessible, fast, and efficient process. It can lead to a large number of artworks with similar patterns and themes that are difficult to distinguish between each other. There is a concern about the disappearance of originality and uniqueness in art. Massification can lead to shallowing the content, disappearance of diversity, and a reduction in innovation. The aforementioned massiveness of AI-generated artworks may cause potentially audiences to become indifferent to art. The ease of producing new designs may affect the reception of already existing artworks. On the other hand, however, it may have an opposite effect. Many researchers think that audiences will appreciate traditional works even more. Hand painting, writing, or composing music that require effort, commitment, and a unique artistic vision can still attract attention and evoke emotions in the audiences. However, it's important to remember that the development of AI is very dynamic. The technology evolves constantly together with creative possibilities. In the future, it can bring innovative methods to combine human creativity with AI capabilities, creating new forms of art that will be unique and surprising. It's also important to understand the impact of AI on artists and the art community. The rapid development of the technology can lead to concerns about AI replacing artists. It can affect the economy and the art market. In my opinion, the professions that are most threatened by AI are such like graphic designers, copywriters, and programmers, code developers. AI is a threat to graphic designers because of its ease to design materials such as business cards, advertising banners, flyers, or other marketing pieces that previously required interaction with a professional designer and now can be created with simple AI tools. This means that people without specialized knowledge and graphic skills can design and print materials on their own, which could lead to a reduction in demand for graphic designers.
Of course, the entire market will not be affected, as more demanding clients will still appreciate graphic designers who will continue to play a significant role in the entire process of creating identity, thanks to their interpretive skills and creativity. Another ethical consideration is transparency and honesty with the audience of artworks. When AI generates images or music, there is a need to clearly label that they are the result of AI collaboration. Viewers should be aware that the artwork was created in collaboration between humans and technology, which can affect perception and artistic value. Openness and honesty about the creative process using AI are important for building trust and integrity. An additional aspect that needs attention is liability in the context of AI-generated content, or accountability. Artificial intelligence can analyze huge amounts of data, which can lead to the generation of inappropriate or offensive content. Artists need to remain aware and in control of what is generated by AI in order to avoid creating works with negative social impact or that promote hatred. Plagiarism and disinformation can also be a challenge for artists. So we need certain legal and ethical mechanisms to protect the creators. Discussion about artificial intelligence in the context of copyright is really important also as regards intellectual property. We can see in some TV series some dead actors that were generated by AI. That's quite controversial. And AI can generate artwork with people who did not give their consent when they were alive. We need to remember that technology should not cross some ethical barriers, and the decisions related to AI should be made in a responsible way. Adapting to new technological tools also requires developing digital skills and understanding AI technologies. Artists should be aware of the available tools, their uses and limitations. This can include learning the basis of programming, the ability to use specialized software, or the ability to effectively analyze and process data. Being open to education and learning new skills becomes a key element in adapting to an undoubtedly changing art environment. In conclusion, AI requires adaptation and flexibility. Artists can continue to develop their unique artistic identity by using technology as an enabling tool, while developing digital skills and participating in discussions about ethics, responsibility, and the future of art in the AI era. Despite all the risks I mentioned, it's worth emphasizing that artificial intelligence cannot replace what makes art so special: human creativity, emotions, artistic intuition. AI can generate artwork, but it lacks the depth and originality that comes from human experience and imagination. Moreover, using the potential of artificial intelligence, artists can experiment, combine different technologies, and create new art forms that cross the boundaries of traditional fields. Through this symbiosis of art and technology, the artist can open up to new perspectives and expand his or her horizons and reach new audiences. As a result, rather than seeing artificial intelligence as death to the artist, we should see it as a tool that enriches and advances the field of art. It is the artist who remains the indispensable creator who gives meaning, emotion, and sense to works of art. Artificial intelligence may be an inspiration and collaborator, but it is the artist who is the soul and the driving force behind the creative process. The basis of artistic creativity is super important. It's the ability to generate new ideas, to create something original and innovative. AI can imitate existing works, but it does not have the innate ability for creative thinking and for being spontaneous. AI can be programmed to generate certain forms of creativity. AI can create images, compose music, write text, and much more. However, there is a dispute over whether artificial intelligence is creative in itself. I believe that creativity is a uniquely human trait. Humans not only have the ability to generate new ideas, but also attach emotions, intuition, social context, and personal experiences. These factors make this human creativity unique and impossible to duplicate. Presenting the possibilities that artificial intelligence offers to artists is extremely fascinating. It opens up total new perspectives. So let me discuss some specific examples of the opportunities that AI creates for artists. First, it can act as a creative tool. We can generate images, music, poetry, and many other things. We can use these works as inspiration or as a basis for further experimentation. AI can support the artist in creating something unique and innovative. To give you some specific examples, there are applications that allow us to compose music based on the user's preferences and guidelines. The artist can specify a musical genre, tempo, mood, and other parameters, and AI will create a unique melody or soundtrack. The artist can then customize and develop this music, creating full-fledged musical pieces. So let me present the power of AI app to create images. I would like to show you some of the pictures generated based on Zdzisław Beksiński art. So you can have a look, and it's less than 2 minutes that you need to create something like this. You can create anything in any style you can imagine, imitating any artist, which I think is quite dangerous and also very problematic from the ethical point of view. To what extent can we take advantage of someone's pictures? But AI will not paint anything physically. It will remain digital. So it's only digital. It's binary code, so still AI cannot paint anything physically, as I said. That's the Leonardo da Vinci style, and you can choose any artist and create anything that you wish. And the algorithms will not be authentic, they will reproduce. We can also create our own style. We can experiment, we can incorporate our own ideas, preferences, and artistic imaginations by giving prompts and instructions related to our individual style. AI will generate images that are unique and reflect our creative personality. The images I create are also photoshopped, so to say, by the AI in order to achieve the result I want. Another possibility is that AI can be an assistant to the artist in the creative process. It can help with analysis, organization, suggesting color combinations, sounds, anything. This allows the artist to focus on their own imagination and use AI's capabilities to speed up their work. In my industry, photography, AI can help in the selection and processing of photos, significantly speeding up the whole process. Here again, I would like to emphasize the superiority of humans over technology when it comes to, for instance, selection of photos, because manual selection remains irreplaceable for me. I'm a photographer and I know best the context and emotions of the event, which makes me able to determine exactly what photos are most important to me and to my clients. An example of this is when momentary, let's say, overshadowing or out of focus shot occurs during a reportage. Despite technical imperfections, such a frame can be extremely valuable if it contains strong emotions or an important moment of the event. Sincerity and authenticity of such photos are the key elements that make a reportage unique. Therefore, I'm convinced that human intuition, knowledge, and commitment as a reportage photographer are irreplaceable in the process of selecting photos. It is I, having a full understanding of the context, knowing the story and the relationship between people, I can identify those key frames that best capture the meaning and beauty of the moment. However, in commercial photography, this tool should work really well. A new feature offered by the world's most popular graphics program is the so-called generative filling, generative fill. It's an advanced feature that uses artificial intelligence algorithms to automatically fill in missing areas in an image. It works by analyzing the background and tries to predict what content should be in those areas. The generative filling function can be used in many cases, such as removing unwanted elements from photos, reconstructing damaged parts, filling in backgrounds, or retouching images. By using neural networks, the program can generate new content that fits the context of the surrounding area. And here again, I'd like you to have a look at some of the extreme cases of generative filling in order for you to understand the possibilities that this application can offer us. Please just have a look. We can make a vertical photo, we can turn it into a horizontal one, and the AI will generate the missing parts. We can also add some elements to the photo to make it more spectacular in a way, just as you can see now. Actually, you don't even need to take photos, and AI can generate them for you. Here you can compare the original photo with the photo, so to say, co-created by generative filling, and it's a threat, in my opinion. I mean, ethically and morally, it's a threat. It will be very difficult to control. It will be overused. I know that, and I think that governments and social media owners should work on some regulations, you know, in order to protect us from manipulating, and I think this should be labeled, because this tool gives artists more possibilities and also saves a lot of time. But we should remember that generative filling is just a tool, and we need to use this functionality in a responsible way, because only the artist is truly creative. Artificial intelligence can also be a tool for the artist's interaction with the public. It can analyze the audience's reactions to artworks and adjust them depending on those interactions. This can help artists create works that are incredibly interactive and engaging for those interested. This is why I think AI is a fascinating support for artists. It opens up unknown horizons for them, encourages them to experiment and discover new forms of expression. When used properly, AI can become an indispensable companion to the artist's creative process, taking it to the next level and inspiring them to create something truly unique. It's important for us to be aware of the ethical aspect, protection of intellectual property. This is truly important. Exploring the new possibilities is another key aspect, because technology could be an inspiration, but we need to be authentic. Let's remember that art is closely linked to our social, cultural, and historical background. It is these diverse influences that create the context in which artists express their work. Art is a reflection of our lives, our values, traditions, and the challenges we face. It is our human ability to create and shape culture that gives art its authenticity and meaning. Finally, artistic creation is related to the will, passion, and individual goal of the artist. The artist not only creates work of art, but also seeks to express himself or herself, evoke a reaction in the audience, and influence the world. It is while AI can generate works of art, imitate styles and techniques, it lacks that human element that makes art so special. AI can assist and inspire artists, but it cannot replace their inner experience, subjectivity, creative thinking, and human identity, which are the foundation of artistic expression. Therefore, despite the development of AI, artistic expression remains the domain of humans, being a unique and irreplaceable part of our culture and our heritage.
Usually you put me at the front, so I was prepared for the beginning, so being at the end is slightly different, but I will manage. If I manage speaking after the shooting, I can speak now. This is the first discussion that preparing myself, I have to confess, this is not a subject that preoccupied me, apart from the field of security, surveillance, control of the population. That was usually my focus if I was reading about AI and trying to understand the developments and so on. So since, I think beginning of this year especially, that became a big subject in the news, the AI and art and ChatGPT and so on and so forth. So I was trying to update myself with the speed of lightning. So preparing for this discussion, I felt that I will be honest that I come open and curious to explore, and definitely I cannot say that I'm a specialist or I have a set opinion, and I'm aware that naturally my tendency would be towards looking for threats and trying to prevent something bad happening, but I'm very open to the possibilities. So it was really refreshing to listen to Tracy and Mateusz and see all these possibilities and avenues where it could go. And I really like that comparison you made, Tracy, that is a bit like we just discovered fire, and at the moment we're just using it very crudely and thinking that this is already great, but actually it's just the beginning of the journey. And I think it's a very appropriate metaphor for that. So I looked at two artists because of two different reasons in relation to artificial intelligence. So the first one I just wanted to show is Refik Anadol, and he just had a show at MoMA in New York. And this is a photograph of people looking at his work, and the work was, I will use my notes now to make sure that this is all properly explained. So it's unsupervised, and it's a part of machine hallucinations. And the artist's website states, an ongoing project exploring data aesthetics based on collective visual memories. Since the inception of the project in 2016, Anadol has utilized machine intelligence as a collaborator of human consciousness, algorithms trained on vast data sets to unfold unrecognized layers of our external realities. Now, Anadol and his team collected data from the digital archives and publicly available resources, and they processed the data sets with machine learning classification models. And they are curated into multi-channel experiences. Machine hallucinations brings a self-generating element of surprise to the audience and offers a new form of sensorial autonomy via cybernetic serendipity. Now, I would like to just show a glimpse into the installation, encouraging the audience to explore it further by themselves. The one that caught my attention seems to have a mesmerizing effect on the audience. And this is just a photograph of people looking at it. But now I would like to ask Krzysztof to put the artist's website. I gave him the link. And then we can just look for a few seconds. We will scroll through the website. And I encourage you to search out the videos to see it by yourself. Yes, let's scroll down a bit more. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, that gives us a bit of a sense how this data set is fed into the machine. Yes, and let's just go down a little bit more for the last one, just for a few seconds. Perfect, thank you. So it's fascinating. For me, it's fascinating how it mesmerizes us. And for me, the question emerged after looking at it and also observing how people stop by and seem to be immersed with this moving image. Is it just a temporary fascination because this is something new and unfamiliar? Would there be the same sense of awe if this installation became part of our daily life? And there's also a cheeky side of me that wonders whether sitting on the top of the mountain and observing the weather wouldn't bring the same experience. But to be honest, it would have to be a bit on the fast forward. But it kind of reminds me of this experience of observing the clouds changing and the weather, but it's just faster. So this is one of the artists I took notice of, and I thought this is one of these examples where the machine is fed a vast data set of images, and the artist is just experimenting with it, playing with it, and this is some kind of a first sort of a appearance coming out of this play, because I also see it a bit like a play. The artist is playing. The other artist that I took notice of is Trevor Paglen, American artist, geographer, and author. And then I think this is my inclination looking into security and surveillance and so on. He's been exploring these issues for years, and in 2017 exhibition titled A Study of Invisible Images, he showed works that emerged from his ongoing research into computer vision, artificial intelligence, and the changing status of images. This body of work has formed over years of collaboration with software developers and computer scientists, and as an artist in residence at Stanford University. The resulting prints and moving images reveal a proliferating and otherwise imperceptible category of invisible images characteristic of computer vision. So he started looking into how the machine creates the images by itself and sees the world through the eyes of the machine. So the human is not needed anymore. So as we see the photographer always being behind the camera, this is the machine creating images, using them to then interact with our reality that we are living and breathing and interacting with. He himself writes, over the 10 years or so, powerful algorithms and artificial intelligence networks have enabled computers to see autonomously. What does it mean that seeing no longer requires a human seer in the loop? So I encourage the audience to explore his work by going to his website, Paglen Studio, to get a glimpse into artist's minds trying to learn, understand, and transfer to us what he sees as a picture of the world rapidly changing because of the development and wider use of AI. So these were the main things I prepared for the beginning.
Maybe we should revisit this subject again in the future. And yeah, really delve deeper, maybe as we see the progression of AI in the next 12 months or so. I want to thank our wonderful speakers, Tracy Follows. You did brilliantly over there in the UK with your presentation. A couple of technological glitches, but thank you so much. And Matthias, it's so wonderful to see your work and to hear you talk as a photographer, a wedding photographer at that, and also with your fantastical, beautiful images that you're working with, and particularly how you represent the subjects in your work through these kind of idealized, gorgeous, beautiful images. Thank you. And Agnieszka, thank you so much for your contribution. I think patience. Sorry about the technical hitches, but you know that's what can happen when we go in, across countries and nations. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I do hope you will come to future. We have 2 more planned for this year on discussions from colonialism and decolonizing the museums and decolonizing art. Next one about art and war, which is obviously very pertinent. Please, a big round of applause for our translators who do such a wonderful job of juggling between Polish and English at these discussions, and also our technicians, a brilliant team there who helped put it all together, and it's not easy. Who knows, AI might take their jobs away in 5 or 4 years' time. We hope not. Thank you, come again, and thank you, Ujazdowski, the directors, Piotr, Matthias, Berta, and Agnieszka for making this happen. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.